Hello, this is my Pi Day video, and I'm going to be talking about my project that I call Pokemon Pi that I started since last Pi Day. And basically the idea here is to use Pokedex Numbers as a memory palace memorization scheme for digits of pi. So what a memory palace is it's a mental location or visualization where certain visuals represent certain blocks of things to remember, and they can be connected. In the case of pi, let's say we start with 3.14159265388979323846264 and so forth. This gets represented in my memory palace as Illumise 314, 14, Krokana 159, Wormpo 265, Chimeco 358, Fate Annihilate 979 to Cameropt 323 to Aracuda 846 to Linoon 264. So that's the kind of idea there. And I also have a secondary mechanism of index of 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 indexing where let's say I'm trying to get my so each one of these I would label as like a memorization string. So Illumise is the first memorization string. Chimeco is the fourth memorization string. And and each memorization string gives me 3 digits. So let's say I want something like I want to mentally map the 120th digit. I want to mentally map the 120th digit. That will in my head I'm going to have to do some division by 3 math. Division by 3 math to figure out which string I need. In this case, I know that I'll need the last digit of the 40th string. The last digit of 40th string. 40th string. Index 40. Index 40 is Wigglytuff. Index 40 is the Pokemon Wigglytuff. That's number 40 on the Pokedex. Wigglytuff, which points to Scatterbug. Which points to Scatterbug, and Scatterbug is a 664. And that means the 120th digit is 4. Now we can check this a bit. If we're, let's see, 119th decimal place of pi, because most of the things online go by decimal places. I go by strict digits, with 3 being the first digit. But the 119th decimal place of pi, yeah, it is 4. Yeah, so that is correct. and that is how I use it there. So there's basically two memory structures. One that's just the straightforward linking, and the other that's I have an index map in my head for each for a given digit that helps me get to an individual digit, um, and from there I can traverse from there. So if I'm starting from the 120th digit, I don't have to go from the start to go past that. So let's say if I want to do the first 10 digits after the 120th, from the 120th digit, then I would start with scatterbugs 4, and then after that would be 709 for Prevenant, then 384 for Rayquaza, then 460 for Abomasnow, and so on like that. And that's how I do the first 10 digits. I don't have a memory scheme that requires me to go straight from the start and just memorize from there. I can go from individual points by using division and index mapping in my head. And so that's the thing. And up to this point, I've memorized about 1,008 digits. But in this case, I'll just treat it as 1,000, and and to and to play around with my memorizations, just give a demonstration and stuff. I'll be doing this simple Python quiz that I've set up. Basically, quiz how this quiz works is I randomly get a starting digit, uh, with the idea that uh, the quiz will for that starting digit, the quiz will ask me the 10 forward digits and the 10 backward digits from there, and it will do it 3 times. And that's just a nice way to demonstrate being able to use this practice arbitrarily. Yeah, one of the advantages of this approach is it allows you a more seamless way to memorize pi, not just forwards, but also backwards, in between, and so forth. I will say my backwards pi memorization is shakier. I can still do it, but it takes much longer than forwards, just because when it comes to a lot of the memorization practice, it's been more geared towards making sure I remember the forward strings. And and another thing I'll note about this practice is it's quite common to think that this is just overwhelming. It's just excessive just to memorize pi. It requires me to memorize many other things just as a mechanism to memorize pi. But the funny thing about how memory works is it's not always about how much you have to memorize, but how well things connect to each other. And there's a funny consequence of how memorizing more things can actually make it easier than memorizing just one particular thing. Like just memorizing pi, the numbers with nothing else, is just going to be rote memorization. You just have to memorize the digits and just make sure you have it. You just have to recite the digits to make sure you have it completely correctly. but that's pretty inefficient, uh, hard to cross-check in your head, things like that. The advantage of an approach like this is you have visualizations that you can create a story with, like how does Illumise connect to Crocona? What is the action that happens between these? Did Illumise use a sweet scent on Crocona? Does it set up a rain dance for Crocona? Does it attract Crocona with its general smells or something? You have you have some individual expression on how you're going to create the story in your head that connects the Pokemon Illumise with the Pokemon Crocodile. The other thing that some people might think is this has the prerequisite of requiring you to memorize all the Pokedex numbers, and so forth. And in my case, that's not really the case. I more use it as a just-in-time thing. Like, for example, I saw that 979 was the next digit, so that's when I memorized Nilape as 979. I didn't already have the number 979 and its Pokedex number memorized. At this point, I certainly have, so I do it in a per point basis, and that ends up working fairly well for me because at least for me, I believe that just memorizing Annihilate as 979 would be harder than if it's actually being used somewhere as a sequence with a purpose that so I know that I need to memorize Annihilate 979 as the fifth string of my pi memorization, and that gives it more purpose, makes it easier to remember. And I think of it with Skorupi as an example elsewhere. I was trying to remember a certain number and it started with 451, so I linked it to Skorupi, and now I will remember Skorupi as 451 very easily because it was the representation I needed for the first string of digits in something I was trying to mm, for something I was trying to remember. And that gave it far more purpose if I compared to if I just wanted to try to memorize Skorupi 451 on its own in a vacuum. So in ways like this, I think that's pretty cool. And another advantage is having redundancy. So let's say if we've got so uh, in the 150 digit mark, we've got this. In the around 150 memorization mark, we've got the sequence of 812, 848, 111, 111. Where let's see, so 81. This is the 150th. Yeah, this is the 150th digit and 50th digit of pi. And we have links like this, but sometimes in my head I might forget. So this is Rillaboom, Toxel, Rhyhorn. At like an early part of memorization, I might have forgotten that after Toxel is Rhyhorn, which is 111. But in my other indexing, I also have uh, the 50-second string is Meowth, which links to Rhyhorn. And this is the 50-second string. This is the 50th string, so that the last digit gives us the 150th digit. But this gives me another layer of redundancy where if I happen to forget a certain connection, if I know where I am in if I can compute where I am in in the other index map for strings, like in this case, I know this is 50th string. That's easy to remember. Rillaboom is the 50th. Rillaboom represents the 50th string. And so I know I'm in the 52nd, which is Meowth, which links to Rhyhorn. And also, and in that way, it's also worth noting that the primary sequence is all I really need to remember. I don't necessarily need to remember the index map to do like the main pi memorization, but it's just a secondary memory scheme in my head to link to certain digits and go from there. And it also offers some redundancy and where I have multiple ways to remember something. And another advantage of this sort of scheme is you can have some pretty amusing arbitrary things to remember, like the 190th string is Uvoltol, and it's also the 216th string. And what's funny about that is since X and Y are the games about alphabets X and Y, there's 26 there's 26 letters in the alphabet. Difference between 216 and 190 is 26. And so that's a funny thing to note with just arbitrarily it I just have this pattern just arose, and this is something to remember where if I don't remember what what the 216th string is, I can remember that Uvolto is 190 plus is the 190 plus 26 string, so it's also the 216th. And in ways like this, there's a bunch of like trivia potential from how these numbers interact, and it's in most accounts just like useless information that doesn't mean anything that randomly occurred because you've had a long string of digits. You can find a pattern somewhere with stuff like that, like similarly there's a string later on where we go from the 120 from the 123rd string, starting from the 123rd string, we've got the sequence of 053 to 054. So in this case, we've got Persian to Psyduck, and it's also the 123rd string is 053. They also have a trailing 3. That's another a mental redundancy check. And there's also the fact that this pattern happened to be two Pokemon that are right next to each other, some in some random place. So that also makes it memorable for the 123rd string to be Persian and the 124th string to be Psyduck and stuff like that. So now let's go to let's just do the quiz and let's see how if I can properly show the memorization here. Okay, so we're starting with enter 10 forward digits from the digit 612. So first we need to divide by 3 to get 204. So we're working with the 204th string. And because there was no remainder here, that means we're just working with the last digit of the 204th string. And let's see, what's the 204th string? that should be 204 should be Pineco, which should be Noibat, which should be 714. So we want the third string, so we're starting at 4. And then after Noibat is Gigalith 526, and after that is Dusclops 356, and then which connects to Magneton 082. And let's see. Yeah, that's correct. And now let's go backwards. For the second run, I'm going to like intentionally get the last digit wrong just to cross-check that this is actually validating and not just giving the correct answer each time. Though from the code there is a check happening, but just to show there. So now we're going backwards from the 612th digit. So we've got, so Noibat is 714, so 417. Of course, how I'm walking through it right now is much slower than how I'd do it normally, but just as a demonstration of the thought process here. So then, so we got 714. Then we've got, in my head, there's Rillaboom, so 812, that's 218. And then we've got Mankey 056, so that gets 650. Then we've got Mischievous 200, so 002. And we only need 10. So that should be, wait, no, is 65. Yeah, so we should just need these. Yeah. So for the second run, I'm going to try to intentionally get the 10th digit wrong. So first we need to do our division by 3. So we've got 2, 4. Let's see, so we've got 2, 4, and then 2, 4, and 6. So with remainder of 0, I wish we had a remainder example, but I guess in this case we're just randomly getting no remainder numbers. Anyway, so the 240 so the 246th digit is yeah, this should be Suicune. So remainder 0, the third digit. This should be Suicune, which connects to Farigiraf, which is 981. So we'll start with 1, then do 363 for Glalie, then 977 for Dondozo, then 477 for Dusknoir, and to just get this wrong intentionally, we'll just make the last digit 6. Wait. Wait, where? 4 digits. Wait. 2, 2, 4. Okay, I guess wait, so I did get it wrong then? Oh, 77, 36. Yeah, I messed it up there. Here by wait, did I mess it? Yeah, I guess I messed it up here in any case. Um by by a margin of one. Well, first of all, it should have been 362, not 363. Clearly it's 362. So I should have been here in this case. So that would be 362, 977, 477, and and 130 for Gyarados. But yeah, I just messed it up anyway, even without the intentional part, which means I could have done this. I guess I might have an indexing problem in my head in this case. Glalie 246, 247, 24. Actually, yeah, no, that's right. I just did the wrong indexing in this case where 246, yeah, it should have been Glalie. Yeah, 245 is Suicune. 246 should be, hmm, should it? Yeah, so 246 should be Larvitar, and that's where the mistake happened in any case. But oh well, this one was supposed to be wrong anyway, and just validates that this validates that I can get these wrong. It's just uh it's just that my memorization, of course, is still not perfect right now. So so we're starting with 246 backwards. So we've got Glaley's last digit here. So so 362, so 263. Then going backwards from there, 1781, so 187, and uh, and before parent giraffe, we've got, yeah, let's see, so Chanat, 4. So before that is going to be Cinderace, so 518, and before that should be 441, wait, 263, 362, yeah, 781. Yeah, it's supposed to be 981, not 781. So that's another blunder there, blunder there. But other than that, yeah. So 981 is fair giraffe. So that's another mess up there, but oh well. And then let's do the fifth one. Let's do the third run. So we're doing from the 549th digit. So we need to first divide this. So we're still, are we really, hmm, we're still only getting cleanly divisible by three numbers, which is a bit unfortunate. Don't want to only make it seem like I need a clean division for this technique to work. And so let's see, so 100, so the third number of the 183rd digit. So 183rd is 183rd is Merrill, which will link to Ursaring 217. So we'll start with 7986094 and 370. Oh, yeah, so 7986 is going to be Brute Bonnet, Gengar, Love Disc. And that's correct at least. And then we'll work backward. Yeah, so then we'll work backward. And so with Ursaring, and then before Ursaring we've got Weeping Bell 070, and before Weeping Bell we've got Diancie 71, so we've got 917. Before Diancie we've got Mamoswine 47, so that should be 3 for Mamoswine's 473. We're working backwards. Oh, yeah. Let's see, 77079. Yeah, it's 97. Yeah, I guess that should have just been a typo on my end. Diancie is 719, not 729. And I think I said 719, but just typed 729, reverse 927 in this case. But anyways, let's just try to run it again just to try to get a number with a remainder. So in this case, we've got, let's see, 3, 2, 3, 2. No, this is also, so let's just do that. Let's try again. 401. Yeah, this one should be good. So let's see, we got 1, 3, 7. No, this one is also, this one is also a clean remainder. So let's try this. So 2, yeah, so this one seems like, yep, this one should be, so remainder of 1. 216, remainder 1. In this case, so the 216th digit, as I mentioned at the start, 216th string is going to represent Yveltal, which is 717. But because we got remainder of 1, we have to traverse 1 past the end of that string. So Yveltal points to Snom 782. So the first digit is 7. So we've got 782, and then after that we've got Moltres 146. After Moltres we've got Sanaconda 844. After Sanaconda we've got Shelder 090. In this case we should only need the 0. 872. Yeah, it's 872, not 782. Snom is 872, not 782, which is another blunder here on my part. But yeah, let's go backwards from there. So then 8717. Then we've got 363. 717 is Yveltal. Then 363 is Sfeel. And then that will be 63. And then one before that is going to be Spidops. So 7917. That should be, yeah, so at least that's correct. So as we can see here, I've got a few blunders still. This isn't a perfect, I can't say I've like perfectly got these sorts of memorization down, but yeah, in the broad sense, I've got uh, the first 1,000 digits about forward memorized. That's going pretty well, but wouldn't be sure wouldn't be doing probably won't be doing all of that right here just because that's a long time. But as I could just demonstrate from the start, um, I can do it forward, but the more fun part is being able to do it from in between and trying to go either forwards or backwards. I'm still pretty slow backwards, but forwards I could be pretty quick if I'm just doing it without explaining things. So that's the current state here. Another thing so let's just do uh, from this point let's just do uh, start from a quick run through like maybe the first 100 digits of pi here. So we've got 3.14159, 864, 264, 338, 327, 950, 288, 419, 716, 939, 937, 510, 582, 097, 494, uh, 459, 230, 781, 640, 628, 620, 899, 862, 803, 482, 534, 211, 706, 798. That should, yeah, let's see, that should get the first 102 digits of pi there. So that's just a demonstration of me being able to do it forwards fairly quick. Maybe I messed up one of the digits there. Uh, and if I did, I'll just mention it in the comments or the description when I get back to this and back to the recording here. I could have messed up a digit or two there just because it's hard to validate in my head. The, in something like this, I would usually be testing it through other means. But in any case, I can just overall I can do the forward memorization for about 1,000 digits at this point. Not sometimes not completely accurate, but it should usually or mostly be accurate, and I'll be trying to improve on the accuracy as I go. And I can also do it in between, and it can be quite fun, but sometimes, of course, I will do 782 for Snom instead of 872. There's still blunders like that that can be rectified. Like it would there's like doing a mental check. 782 does not make sense positioning wise for Snom because it's a Gen 8 Pokemon, and Gen 7 caps off on the around 809 or so mark. So there's things like that where if I'm thinking about it more, I can like validate that it can't be 782, but when you're doing it quickly, you can end up mixing stuff like that. But in any case, So some last words about this approach. I I quite I find it quite fun doing this because it's like having having like data structures in your head that you can work around with, play around with, mess with from certain areas and go forwards, backwards. It's this it's this pretty fun thing in my books, and it is something that it is another practice that I try to do consistently, repeat consistent daily practices to can be pretty nice to just like solidify that you're doing something each day, iterating on something and remembering it just a bit better. So I like this, and I'm probably going to continue this until I get to the end of how far I can go with Pokedex numbers and pi. In this case, 1025th 5 is the last Pokedex number we have so far, so I can go all the way to 3075 digits with this. But beyond that point, while I could go further, if I really want to just memorizing from this axis, I do like also having the index approach, so I probably don't have much reason to go past 3075 until we get more Pokedex numbers and like with uh Legend CA and Gen 10 and so forth, and I'll just go as far as there because and only do it from a Pokedex number bounded perspective because there's no need for I have no real need for trying to memorize like 70,000 digits of pi or so forth. Just just a few thousand as a way to integrate remembering Pokedex numbers with remembering pi digits, as remembering the Pokedex numbers can help be used for other things I want to memorize in my head. So that's the advantage of memorizing all the Pokedex numbers. But at this point, I'm just in a just-in-time. So I've got like, so I know the Pokedex numbers to like the first 336 Pokedex numbers I know pretty well. I can recall them in my head. Beyond that, I know the ones that show up in because 336 for the first about 1,000 digits. I've got the first 336 indexes, each string of three, a little over 1,000, and so forth. But and on the other end, the ones past that I have in the memorization, I also of course know like time echo 358, so I know 358, I know 979, I know 846 because of the pi sequences, but beyond that I don't know. I don't know 840 in my head right now. For example, I know 844 Sandaconda because that comes up, which mm, so and stuff like that. And with that, that should be it from me. Happy Happy Pi Day. Hope hope you also get to tinkering with memorization schemes. And if you're into Pokemon, you could consider Pokemon-oriented memorization schemes like what I did. So, yeah, goodbye.